Great.
Let's get right to it. I'm going to get to policy in a minute, but I got to deal with this topic that black folks have been talking about like crazy, and that is Arizona Governor Jan Brewer losing her damn mind. And so she, of course, meets the president on the tarmac in Arizona. He makes a comment with regards to some comments that she made in her book, which is totally different than what she said after this meeting at the White House. And next thing you know, there's a picture of her pointing her finger at the president. Do you all believe that we are seeing a level of disrespect towards this president in total, unlike what we've seen, frankly, from other presidents?
As someone who has covered the White House, and I've seen Hillary all my time at the White House for the last 15 years, I've seen 3 American presidents, even in the worst of times, when the Monica Lewinsky situation with Bill Clinton, when George Bush sent us to war with a nation that did not put 9/11 together on us. I've never seen the level of disrespect of any president talking about his race, talking about where he was born, making caricatures of him, making him look like an animal. Now, from what I'm hearing from the White House about the situation with the Arizona governor is the fact that she was very animated. And the president, and many of these presidents, we see them very presidential, right, but you don't know that they are very gregarious and they're fun people. But at the same time, she may have taken it a little too far, putting that finger up.
Well, I think the technical term for what we saw go down on that tarmac is called poor home training. I believe that's the official government term for what happened, as per my mother. Because the bottom line is, I mean, you don't point at someone, not even someone that's a stranger on the street. I mean, I have a teacher from elementary school. My mother is still looking for Miss Goff because that teacher put her finger in my face.
Call a teacher out.
So, you know, to do that to the President of the United States, I mean, there's no other word for it except disrespect. They've actually done slideshows, Roland, showing how many GOP elected officials have either made inappropriate jokes, made racist comments, or used the term boy to describe our president. Now, I've never heard George W. Bush described as a boy. I've never heard Bill Clinton described as a boy. So is the question, are we seeing a greater level of disrespect? I think the answer is 100% absolutely.
We never heard Reagan called a boy either.
Right.
It was entirely inappropriate for a sitting governor to talk to the President of the United States that way. It was entirely inappropriate for any human being to talk to another human being that way. So, you know, the Governor Brewer should be put in the doghouse for that. However,
her book sales went up 150,000% on Amazon.
But because she struck a chord. She struck a chord with a certain group of people. We know who those people are, who dislike this president because he's different from us. Let's just be honest about that. However, I want to slightly correct the record, because during the Bush years, and I'm certainly not going to defend him, what I'm trying to do is defend the institution of the President of the United States.
Gotcha.
He was called dumb. He was called a buffoon. The Senate Majority Leader at the time, Harry Reid, called him the worst liar, whatever the case was. So the point is that the politics of personal destruction on both sides is at a historic low. And if you rewind, go back to history,
gotcha,
Newt Gingrich was the person that actually brought it to the forefront in terms of personalizing this as relates to calling people names. Well, it's wrong on both sides.
Well, it's also contextual. I mean, if you talk about those issues, I agree with you about it being wrong. I agree with you about being disrespectful. I agree with you about it being different. And it is different. When we talk about the issues of George Bush, none of those were racially based.
I agree.
And pre-existing stereotypes.
Also, let me say this here.
That's what we have going on.
Also, in this show, whether we call President Barack Obama President Obama, also say President Bush, because again, I believe that's also part of the deal.
Absolutely.
People are too familiar with this president. So even on television, I have an issue when people say Barack. Again, I never called George W. Bush George. For me, it was President Bush. During the debates, the analysis was done. Rick Santorum has called President Barack Obama President Obama. Newt Gingrich consistently refuses to call him President Obama. Isn't that also part of this whole disrespect of the office?
Well, he's not legitimate in some people's minds. He's never been legitimate because of the whole birth issue, because of his race, and we got to get beyond that. He is the President of the United States, and regardless of what your personal politics is, give him the respect because of the office that he holds, and also because he's a human being.
This week at a Rick Santorum rally, a woman stood up there and said that the president was not to be respected because, as to your point, he was illegitimate, that his orders as commander-in-chief should not be followed, and she said he wasn't born in this country. And what was interesting was Santorum did not correct her like McCain did in 2008, and what he did, he said, my biggest thing is getting rid of the czars. I believe if you are Rick Santorum, you got to say, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I agree.
That's just not correct.
Well, and he took the excuse even further. When he was asked about it, he said because she was elderly. he didn't feel that he should question those things publicly in front of everyone else.
John McCain jumped up in the
Senator
last...
John McCain jumped up.
Senator John
An elderly woman.
Yep.
He jumped up in the last waning hours and corrected this woman at a meet and greet where she said he's an Arab, and he said, no, I give him so much credit. But I'm going to go back to something that you said real quick about George Bush, President George Bush, about him being called up. Do you know President Bush has told me to himself that he played on the low expectations people had on him. So he always surpassed what people...
So when somebody called him dumb, he was like, okay, fine, no problem.
Yes, he played on that.
Can you played on that really quickly?
From the first debates with Al Gore,
yes, he played on that.
I'll say really quickly, though, there's a slight difference between Santorum's situation and Senator McCain's situation, which is a general versus a primary. You know, and I'm not saying that what Senator McCain did was not genuine, but I am saying that there are independent voters who look much more kindly upon someone
totally
setting the record straight than someone like Senator Santorum, who's got to go
stirred right now in the primary.
I agree. Here's the deal.
The being stirred right now.
But here's the deal.
Wait till general primary, whatever. It's being stirred right now.
The voters that Santorum needs to get
it needs to be addressed right now. I'm sorry, I don't agree.
First of all, I agree. Difference between the primary and general. But here's my overall point. We cannot have, whether you're Republican or Democrat, talk about this country and the lack of civility when we're unwilling to tell somebody, ma'am, I'm sorry.
You're wrong.
The president, you are wrong.
You have to stop it right then. You got to stop it right then.
I just think
we're actually not disagreeing on that, but I'm saying
I understand
why he did it. I get it.
Which
why? Is that he's trying to go for the base
I'm saying
of
should
voters.
The pot is being stirred. You got to stop it right now.
Or you should stop it. But if he wants to win, that doesn't help him.
At some point, we've got to get down to the real issues that affect our country: jobs, education, opportunity. All those things have to be addressed. Our international portfolio and those concerns, as we're bringing troops back, these become such problematic distractions that we can't address the real issues. That also means that America has trouble assessing even the candidates that are running for these offices, particularly as we go through the Republican
Panel, hold tight 1
happen.
second. When we come back, we're going to pick up on some of those issues. We'll talk about the GOP debate as well. I want to get into that because guess what? Mitt Romney, all that money he made, released on Tuesday, Mitt need to send his debate coach a big check because he did bet on Thursday. So, okay, the choir, calm down. We got the church lady in the house, but all you missing is your big church hat. All right, stay with us. We'll continue the conversation after the break.